What's happening, beautiful people, and welcome back to another podcast of the Real Drug Talk Show. My name's Jack Nagel, and on this show, we talk about all things drugs, alcohol, addiction recovery, and anything else interesting in the space. We've kicked off the year with my first emotional podcast, which I got some really great feedback on. I didn't mean to kind of come into that and get so emotional, to be honest. It just sort of happened and I let it fly. But I was a little bit uncomfortable about putting it out, but I got so much great feedback coming back from people just around the podcast and how it impacted them and how it made them feel and how it made them reflect on their own situations and stuff like that. So I feel honored that that is the case. And that it reached some people and was helpful, because it definitely was a little bit uncomfortable for me. But yeah, it was a cool way to start off the year and start off the podcast. Today, I wanted to do another short podcast and do a bit of like a coaching session, and give you a bit of an insight into some of the stuff that we cover in the connection-based living program, based on the conversation that I've been having with clients this week. We are going back to the normal format of having guests, but I've just had a couple fall through in the last few weeks. So I wanted to provide a couple podcasts this week, have a short one with the coaching session. Hopefully people can pull some insights from it if they're struggling with their own addiction, to help them get some insights into what's going on. But then also going to have the guests this week as well, so that there's a couple of shows leading into Easter. But today, what I wanted to talk about, which has been a theme of the conversations that I've been having with the coaching clients that we have in our program, is the difference between hard and soft skills in recovery. And it's a really interesting one, and one that, I think people have to focus on trying to master. And I'm not perfect. I'm still trying to master it myself. But it can really help you to catch yourself and see yourself coming, and allow yourself to not fall into the holes and the pitfalls of like relapse, basically, because you're aware of yourself. So to kind of explain the difference, so hard skills are like the simple stuff that you think of, that you do, where you might identify triggers and you might go, going to the pub is a trigger for me, hanging around these certain people is a trigger for me, these type of things that I relate to, music or whatever it might be, events, they're triggers to me. So I'm going to stop associating myself with those things and, implement different routines and structures. And that's another hard skill: routine, structures, doing physical activity, all that kind of stuff, right? Like just simple things that are practical, tangible, things that you can do that help you to move in a different direction and change your behavior. But what's more important, and what's a lot more tricky to kind of master, and is kind of part of the whole reason when we do the connection-based living program, one of the big things that we focus on is this like connection to each other and connection to yourself. So in the connection-based living program, there's three pillars that we operate off, right? So connection to self, so that's self-awareness, which is like a soft skill that I'm talking about: self-awareness, self-reflection, some sort of self-reflective practice that you can gain some insight into yourself, understand how you're feeling, emotional intelligence, that kind of stuff. Like that's soft skills that we're talking about. The other pillar is finding your tribe. That's sort of like a hard skill. It's finding a group of people, a community that you fit in with, that gives you a greater sense of purpose. And then the last pillar is finding that purpose and finding that thing that drives you forward, finding that thing that you have to live for, to look forward to, is really important. When people put all those three pillars together, that's kind of where the magic happens. No matter what the vehicle is, no matter whether you go to 12-step programs, you do a rehab, you become a Buddhist, you get involved in some sort of religion, you do some sort of like life coaching, whatever it is that you do, whatever the vehicle is, they're the three pillars that I find people put together when they have success in recovery, right? And a big part of that, or I think the biggest part of that, and the thing that we work on the most, or we find that we work on the most when people enroll in our connection-based living program, whether that's the online program and they go through the video hub and do the peer support groups, or whether that's the individual coaching in the 60-day program, the biggest thing that people find themselves working on is those soft skills, right? And is that self-reflective practice, is that ability to understand how am I feeling today, what's going on for me emotionally, right? Because a lot of people, without realizing it, use on emotion, use and drink on emotion. Circumstances might happen in their life that are full on and crazy, and cause like trauma and all that sort of stuff. But then the impact of those events causes you to feel a certain way, and the using and the drinking is to escape that feeling and to escape the way that a situation or a circumstance or whatever it is makes you feel, right? So if you can have some understanding and develop those soft skills and practice that in your everyday life, to build up to say, how am I feeling? Am I in tune with myself? um, you know, uh, what's going on for me today, emotionally, mentally, and physically. It can go a long way for you to then make a different decision and make a different choice about what you do for that day, or what comes up next, or the people that you associate with and you talk to, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's what we're really talking about with soft skills, is that awareness of yourself. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So how do you actually start to do that? I want to give you a couple tips to start with. There's lots of things that you can do. We find that people get the most benefits when they do like therapy, and I really like push people to get in touch with their feelings and really understand what's going on inside themselves. And just quickly, like when I find people start to master this skill, I find people start to um, get a real handle on their using and drinking and start to really break and change the patterns, right? And it's just something that people don't get told that often. Is that if you can master what's going on inside yourself, and just understand it and have an awareness of it, so that then you can make different decisions, um, you're more likely to get success. A lot of people don't get told that, right? So a couple of ways that you can do it is that I always like to say, you can't just rock up. You got to treat yourself like an athlete, right? Like I'm into sport. You got to treat yourself like an athlete. You can't just rock up to the game and expect to be perfect and on fire, and kicking goals left, right, and center. You have to practice, right? So it comes down to the practice that you put into this stuff. And the practice is transferring into some of those hard skills, right? So people often don't know the purpose of journaling. People get told to journal, and they go, "Oh, what the fuck does that mean? I don't want to journal." I remember when I got told about journaling, I thought it just meant like pulling out a pen and paper, and writing about my day and how I felt and all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily that. I find structured journals really helpful. We've got a few that we use in the program with people. You can find heaps online. There's heaps of different like apps, like 5-minute journals, stuff like that, that just like ask you some pointed questions that really get you understanding how you're feeling and what's going on for you internally in the day. And it's a really good way to start your day with that self-awareness, right? And the more that you do this, the behaviors kind of like stack on top of each other, right? So it won't just happen after one time that you do the journaling. Like, you got to do it consistently over a period of time. But what you'll start to find is that then you're walking down the street and you go, oh, I'm feeling a bit like frustrated and angry. Maybe I'll just take 5 minutes or 10 minutes before I call this person, because I don't want to take out my emotions on that person. Or, maybe I'll just do something else today because I'm feeling a bit flat. I'll cancel my work meetings and stuff like that, and I won't overwhelm and stress myself. And those things are literally the difference that help you to change the way that you're acting, which helps reduce the stress load emotionally that you have, which helps to not trigger off old cravings and old coping mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. And the good news is that more that you practice these behaviors and these habits, the more that you will kind of like build this internal ecosystem where you understand yourself, and you understand where the triggers are for your using and drinking, and the behaviors change over time. It's not like you have to do this forever and a day and you'll be always stuck with that using and drinking coping mechanism that you'll go back to. It dissipates and goes away over a period of time, but you have to put in the action to create the new habits and the behaviors that change and rewire your brain and rewire your emotional system, if that makes sense. So journaling is a really good one that helps you do reflective practices. I try and do that most mornings. That's the one that I like the best. It's not just like a journal that you think about like Dear Diary. It's structured questions. What are you grateful for? What are you excited about today? How are you feeling? It's got structured, pointed questions in the journal. It takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to do. I find it really helpful to start my day. There's another great app that we always get people to use, which is called the How We Feel app, which you can set reminders for that check in with you 3 times a day or twice a day. It takes 5 minutes just to go through the app and identify some feelings and what's going on in your life. And you can make some notes next to it and stuff like that. Again, it's just a great tool to help tune into yourself and understand what's going on and really develop those soft skills that help you to get awareness around like your addictive patterns and where triggers are coming in and stuff like that. All right. So I hope that's helpful. Little insight into some of the conversations that I've been having this week with people and some of the things that we've been focusing on and some of the stuff that we do in the connection-based living program. So I hope these little coaching sessions are helpful. We'll keep doing them because people have asked for them this year, just for little insights, little tips and little tricks, and little nuggets that we present to people. We'll have an interview coming up later this week, but use the soft skills in your life, and I would love to hear some feedback on what kind of changes you're seeing over a week, over a couple of weeks, over a month, when you're implementing this stuff in your life, and if it's helping you to get a better hold on what's going on emotionally and understanding where some of your trigger points are for you using and drinking and all that kind of stuff. So have a great day, people. That's enough from me. Peace.